So here we are. I've got Andy with us today, talking about how we're coping in COVID. So, Andy, just give us a bit of background here on your business and what you're doing.
Okay, thanks, Jeremy. I'm Andy Sheppard. I own Omicron Solutions. We're an IT support and security company. We are based in St Albans. We've got 6 staff, and our premise is that we are small business IT departments. So, small businesses that don't have in-house skill, they don't have the resource to deal with all of the grumbles, the networking issues, the compatibility issues, all of the strategy behind IT and technology in your business. We take care of all of that at the fraction of the cost of hiring, an IT person or having your own IT department. We're Microsoft specialists, and we focus on data security and remote working technologies and local networks, which is now, due to COVID, turning into more remote working and distributed systems. So that's what we do. We do it for a number of customers and lots of different segments. We deal with Hertfordshire, home counties, and central London, and businesses of around, from one-man bands up to 30, 40 users is the sweet spot. But we also look after companies that are much larger because we supplement their teams. So we look after specialist cars, the BMW franchise. We look after various schools, private schools around the county. So yeah, it keeps us busy.
Okay, great, Andy. And so you've been around. How long? How long have you been in business?
The company was formed in 1993. I was actually employee number 1 back in '94. So yeah, about 27 years. I actually left the business to go and earn my fortune, or whatever you want to call it. But I became the IT director of a large finance company in Watford that eventually were bought out by Bank of America. So I've got a good pedigree of working in larger organizations and growing organizations as well. But yeah, the company's been going 27 years, and I bought the company 2.5 years ago. So it's now mine, and I'm injecting some new energy and taking it to the next level.
Excellent. And you mentioned there a few of your clients in terms of the cars and schools and things like that. So if you had to pinpoint it down, who was your best customer?
Well, it was an office-based white-collar company, owner-managed. They want to grow. They're ambitious. They are probably between 5 and 30 users. They have the business strategy. They're very good at what they do, but they don't want that headache. They don't want that interruption of IT and technology problems. And that's where we work with them. We become a partner in the business. And it's really that partnership that we nurture, and we help drive their business to the next level. And fundamentally, that's what we love to do. We love to help people, and we love to help businesses grow by enhancing their technology and making it an asset rather than something that's holding them back.
Okay, that's fantastic. And so coming on to current times, obviously COVID-19 has been around for quite some time now. What's been the greatest impact of COVID-19 on your business?
Well, to be honest, it's impacted our revenues. It's also meant that we've had to furlough 3 people. So, we're a small business, and we thrive when we work as a team. So it's not really just the financial impact. We're bringing in less money. It's really, having to make those decisions and put people out on furlough. I mean, I applaud the government for the scheme itself. You know, it's meant that we haven't had to make any redundancies, because hoping back to normal, they will be bringing their people back, which means that we can bring ours back, because our revenues will go back up again. So really, it's the uncertainty that's difficult, because you don't know when these things are going to happen. It's hard to forecast. It's hard to get your ducks in a row, because no one really knows, what's the announcement going to be next week or the week after. So the furlough scheme is great, because we know now that it's being pushed out to October, which is great. But I really love having a team and working with my guys, in the office. So having to work remotely, all of our systems work. It's just that it's not the same as being together. I can't listen, and I can't hear what's going on. I can't offer as much support instantly as I would like. When I can hear somebody on a call that might be a little bit tricky, or I can add my advice and my guidance and mentor my guys. So we're still doing that. It's just a lot more difficult, because there isn't that real time input. We use Microsoft Teams, which is fantastic. There is instant chat, there's sharing of data, there's video, there's voice. We can invite customers in and interact with them that way, but it's just not the same. So I look forward to the time where we can get back into the office, and all be there. I mean, at the moment we could go back and socially distance and maybe have 2 or 3 at a time, but it's better when we're all together.
Okay, yeah, fantastic. You mentioned there a couple of, obviously the finance thing and the team element, and obviously being in the space that you have the technology there to enable remote working. But what are the 1 or 2 actions that you've taken to make a difference in around the finances and around the sort of team and culture that you have in the business?
Well, with the finance, we've taken advantage of the local government grants. As I mentioned, we've taken advantage of the furlough scheme.
Mm-hmm.
On the flip side, we've offered some customers, discounts if they've had to make changes to their business and they're struggling. Then we've agreed, to waive certain charges for them. But also, in a positive way, we've made very regular video calls. We still do our Friday afternoon, beers, and have a bit of fun on a Friday. We've got a dartboard in our physical office that we use to just to play a few fun games, and then people can earn the right to go home early. So we've now started to do that virtually. We found a virtual dartboard game that we can play, and when we share the screen out. So we're trying to use the technology to bring some fun to the team as well. And also, I think we've increased marketing messaging as well around LinkedIn and email and Twitter and all of the digital platforms, and they've started to bear fruit. We have had some inquiries via that. I quite like going to networking events, and there's a lot of those online now, so we're doing that as well, and that's bearing fruit. So we've had a few new leads and a few new inquiries from that, and we're also helping businesses that are struggling by giving them free consultations and just some free support, so that it helps them through this time, so that hopefully we can sit down and have a proper face-to-face cup of coffee and a chat, once things settle down and we get through the full lockdown.
Okay, great, fantastic. You mentioned quite a few things there. It's you kind of changing how you're working. What other things have you sort of, did you have a pivot session as such? Did you have a moment when you were just thinking about thinking differently and how it will affect other people and what you can do to support that? Yes. I mean, a pivot session is a good way of putting it. I've been thinking ever since the whole
the whole situation started. You know, how can we support and help customers better, smarter, you know, be more agile, be more flexible. And there's a realization, I think, that a lot of companies that are service orientated, you know, they have a fixed monthly fee. They deliver a service based on you know, recurring revenue, and that's fair enough. But when times are hard like this, or if you know, the service isn't required, I mean, especially let's say summer holidays, you know, maybe a company has only half their staff in over August because they're all on holiday. I mean, we shouldn't really be charging for people that aren't using the service. So I'm thinking about pivoting our pricing structure so that we align more to a utility where you pay a lower standing charge, like a gas or an electric bill, and then you pay for what you're using. So that's coming. I'm still finalizing that, but it's really just changing the way that we can offer our service, give people even better quality and better value, but deliver it in the same professional and expert way. I think we all need to help each other. You know, that's my methodology, and that's my way of thinking. I want to help people, and I want it to be a partnership.
Yeah.
And I want people to value our partnership and value the service that we're giving. And I think that's the fairest way. You know, people don't want to pay for a service if they're not using it. So that's what I'm pivoting the way that we're going to deliver going forward.
That's fantastic. So, and it makes me think that the changes that have happened to lots of businesses during COVID are the fact that we've become more human in our interactions. You mentioned there you're stepping up your marketing and your interactions with people and doing more networking, which is actually more interactive than you would have been in normal times, so to speak, where we have that. So what's interesting is changing the financial model, both looking at what you were saying earlier with regards to the impact to you through COVID from a financial viewpoint, which lots of people, obviously, the vast majority of businesses have experienced, but you're actually taking that concept and moving it to one of permanence, the new normal, if you will, by putting the human element of fairness around your proposition going forward. That's a really interesting point from a pivot view of it doesn't have to be your products. It can actually be the way in which you do business. Very, very interesting. So it's I always like this quote. It's been said, smart people learn from their mistakes, whereas wise people learn from other people's mistakes. So what sort of experiences of maybe some of the things that didn't go so well would you be able to pass on to other entrepreneurs who could learn from your experiences? What would you say some of the challenges have been?
It's a great question, because no one likes to admit they've made any mistakes. But I think that I have been very guilty of looking too much at what other people are doing.
Okay.
There are quite a few, IT companies in and around St Albans, in and around London, in and around the UK. We all tell people that we deliver a similar product. And I think I've been guilty of looking out of the window more than concentrating on what we're doing. And there's been it's a real tonic to be able to have the time to actually have a proper look at the business and just to see what our focus should be, and really zero in on the things that we are very, very good at. The customer service, the Microsoft product set, networking, security, those four things, if you put them all together and you just focus directly on those, that will make any business fly. Obviously, there's going to be other little things are floating around the outside, but I've learned to focus on what you're very good at and to be very stubborn and not get distracted. by, oh, that company is doing something else. I must copy that. That's just instantly going to distract you. It's going to waste time. It's going to waste money, and you'll never be as good as, well, I say you'll never be as good. You may become as good at it as them, but you'll certainly forget what you're doing, in your core business. So concentrate on the core, and then everything else will become more fluid and smooth, and there'll be less distractions. That's certainly one thing that I've learned.
Yeah, it's fantastic. In certainly that, as you say, the breathing space of COVID, of giving us all the opportunity to reflect on what we do and whether we need to change that short term, long term, or permanently. And having that strategy to go back sometimes to the basics, to sometimes mothball some of the things that seemed a good idea, but actually we hadn't got enough traction, or you weren't known for. And especially when you're taking it, and we're going back to what you were saying before with regards to your marketing and your positioning yourself, obviously it gives you a lot of focus in terms of who to actually aim for. Because if we can sell to anybody, we typically end up selling to nobody. Whereas if we are car specialists, education, whatever it might be, there's a focus and a relatability to that, both for you to the customer and the customer to you. And then you get known for that. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think, if your product set and your services match what a company is looking for, then, it's a marriage made in heaven. You can't be everything to everyone. And it's just the way that business works, and that's the way that marketing works. And it just takes a while to learn these things and not be too distracted by looking out the window at what everybody else is doing. So.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So, well, thank you very much for that, Andy. I know there's a lot of learnings in there for everybody about, taking what you're doing, stepping back, utilising the government's grants and availability of furlough, and then taking those learnings and pushing those further forward is what you do. That's really, really interesting. Thank you so much for sharing that. And Andy, if people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way to do that?
They can give us a call. Do you want me to give you the number?
Or we do phone numbers or a website, something like that.
The website, everything's on the website. You can email, you can call. The website is www.omicronsolutions.co.uk. Get in touch.
Fabulous. So obviously you're coming up with the fair pricing thing, so that would be something around the corner for people to understand and enjoy and get their services just like a utility. So thank you very much for your time today. Really appreciate that, and I look forward to seeing everybody else again when we have another interview with another business as we go through COVID. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Cheers.